Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It seems like the Ukrainian army is very efficient in locating the Russian army, and I would say there's no surprise because they have a lot of people working for them, a lot of countries including Israel now being the last on the list. I think they've been doing this for some time already, but nevertheless it seems like they know the coordinates very clearly. This is an article from Ukrainska Pravda from today, October 29th, 2022. Ukrainian armed forces eliminate group of 300 Russians preparing on assault near Mi-8, General Staff reports. Mi-8. Okay. On October 28th, the armed forces of Ukraine eliminated a group of around 300 Russian soldiers preparing for an assault near Mayorsk in Donetsk Oblast. I say Mayorsk, the other one? Mayorsk. Yep. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And I'm quoting: as a result of high precision strikes carried out by units of Ukraine's defense forces, a group of 300 occupiers preparing for a new assault was eliminated yesterday in the vicinity of Mayorsk. Details: the following day, around 60 slightly injured Russian soldiers were hospitalized in Horlivka. Up to 20 Russian soldiers were killed and 30 sustained injuries of various severity in the village of Chervonopopivka in Luhansk Oblast as a result of an attack by the Ukrainian armed forces. Russian forces have been forced to evacuate injured soldiers to the city of Voronezh by bus as a result of a lack of reliable air ambulance service, the poor prepared medical infrastructure in Belgorod Oblast, and the fact that all local hospitals there are already at full capacity. Interesting, no? Don't you think? Full capacity. Over the course of the past 24 hours, the Ukrainian army forces have repelled, that means those guys are attacks, Russian attacks, in the vicinity of Vodiane, Kamyanka, and Nevelske, Donetsk Oblast. Russian forces carried out up to 25 airstrikes and 4 missile strikes, as well as over 70 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems, MLRS. More than 35 Ukrainian cities, towns and villages came under fire, including Siversk and Prechistiva, Donetsk Oblast, Mali Sherebaki, Zaporozhye Oblast, and Davidiv Brid and Mala something Kherson Oblast and something Kobzartsy, Mykolaiv Oblast. Alright, now, there were no significant changes on the Volyn and Polisia fronts. I heard this many times. So I guess they're still on and off. The Republic of Belarus is continuing to aid and support Russia's military aggression against Ukraine. There is an ongoing threat of missile strikes from the territory of Belarus, including with the use of attack UAVs. On other fronts, the Russians continue to fire on military and civilian targets. Military, I heard that. Military. Ooh, I thought only on civilian targets. On the Sivershchinya front, Russian forces deployed mortars and tubed artillery to fire. And here on the Slobozhanshchinya front, Russian forces deployed various types of artillery to fire in areas and around, and it's about 4 cities. I don't know if they're cities or just settlements. On the Kupiansk and Liman fronts, Russian forces deployed mortars and tubed and rocket artillery. On Bakhmut front, that was when they had the offensive, the Russians, let's see if they did anything, the Russians deployed tank and artillery of various calibers to fire on areas in and around Bakhmut, Bakhmutske, Bilohorivka, Chasiv Yar, Zelonopilia, and 2 more. It's so hard to read all these things, and I don't think that it's very important. These are small little settlements. On the Avdiivka front, The Russians deployed tank guns, mortars, and tubed and rocket artillery. On the Novopavlinka and Zaporozhye front, the Russians carried out attacks on the portion of Ukraine's defense forces and civilian infrastructure in the vicinity of Valika, Novosilka, Vremivka, and 3 more little ones. On the Pivdeny Bukh front, over 20 cities, towns, and villages situated along the line of contact came under Russian fire. Russian forces carried out around 20 UAVs sorties in order to conduct aerial reconnaissance in the area. So aerial reconnaissance in the area. Russian forces are continuing their attempts to advance, probably they're advancing, and these are the Ukrainians, they say their attempts, so that means they minimize the Russians' achievements, and they are, because it says they are trying. All right, and it says are continuing their attempts to advance on the Bakhmut and Avdiivka fronts. So that's the only place where I found in the past, I don't know, week or so, where the Russians are in an offensive or trying to reach further in. The rest is beam, boom, 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 boom. Okay. In the city of Berlislav and Kherson, in Kherson Oblast, soldiers from the Russian occupation forces are abandoning their military uniforms to plain clothes. Where did they find the plain clothes, buddy? And moving into people's homes. From the people's. So the so-called evacuation initiated by the Russian occupation regime in Kherson continues apace. The Russians are stealing and taking away all medical equipment. Man, these guys are bad. Yeah. And medicines from hospitals in Kherson. Doctors who have refused to evacuate are banned from entering the hospitals, even to collect their personal belongings. These guys are not human. Isn't that what these guys are trying to push on us? I think so. On October 28th, Ukrainian aircraft carried out 24 airstrikes on clusters of Russian military personnel. Only military personnel, no civilians. On clusters of Russian military personnel, weapons and equipment, and anti-aircraft defense systems, no civilians. In addition, Ukrainian air defense forces struck down 2 Russian Su-25 attack jets, as well as 2 Mi-8 helicopters and 1 UAV. Ukraine's rocket force and artillery struck positions of Russian self-propelled artillery systems and other crucial military targets, no civilians. These guys are just considering us retards, and for good reason. Just have a walk in a mall and you're gonna know why. And I was about to say park, but in a park I think you find people over different kind of quality. Not that much better, but at least not like the ones in the mall shuffling. What should we buy? What should we buy? Anyway, hey, this is what I see. There are some normal people in the malls too, but anyway, it seems like these guys are Avdiivka and Bakhmut are the only places where the Russians are doing something like on the other fronts, nothing but I kill you, I launch missiles and rockets and mortars and tanks, launch shell in the other side. The same comes from the Ukrainians. We'll see who freezes first, because it's winter's coming. And I hope it's not the Europeans. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.